Alright, I want to find two lines out of this little intersection here that's going on here. So the first thing you look for lines is arrows on both sides. So there's an arrow there, and there's also an arrow down here. Now I can name any 2 points that are within these two arrows here because you can tell, just from your experience with lines that this would be a straight line. So I'm just going to list 2 points, and then I'm good. So I'm going to list A, B. And like I said, we need to have these two arrows. That's what defines as a line. So I just put that little two arrows above when I'm naming it. And I could have also called this, for instance, BC or AC if I wanted to as well. And we could even scramble up the order of the letters. That doesn't matter either. We could call it BA, line BA. It doesn't matter. The other line, I got to have 3 new points. So maybe I'll use YX for this one, right? We see the arrow pointing this way and the arrow up here, so we know that that's a line. I can use any two of the 3 points, and I can use them in any order. I'll use XY this time. I could have used YX. I could have said YB or XB or BX, BY. Any of those would have done. So those are my two lines. Two rays. So a ray has one endpoint. So I can go a lot of different ways with this one. Let's say I start at A. I would actually have to go this way for it to be a ray because we don't have another point to name it after. And just like lines, we need 2 points. So if I'm going to start at A, my ray would go this way. And I then could use one of 2 points. I could use B or I could use C. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to list A, and then I'll say B. AB. Ray AB. Now the key is you have to put this arrow pointing this way because the A is the starting point. So we want the starting point to be the end point right here. So that explains that. And then another ray, we could actually go and do the opposite. So I could say ray BA. It's a different ray now because we're going the opposite direction. So I could say BA would be another ray. And I could have used a bunch of other ones, right? Just look at this. This thing is filled with rays. I could have done YB, or I could have done BY, could have done BC, or CD, BX, or XB. Any of those would have done. Next, we need two line segments. The line segment has two endpoints. So basically, the important thing to know about this is that we don't have any arrows when we write the names of line segments. So I could use, let's see, we'll use BY here. And another name for BY would just be the reverse of this, YB. And I got to put that line segment symbol over the top of it. Again, there's no arrows there. That's the important thing. And then I'll just use, we'll go with AC for our next one. I could say that that's CA as well. The order doesn't matter. So those are two line segments. And finally, the last thing we should know is points. And a point is just an exact location. So when you're naming points, you actually only need to name one at a time. And I can see 3 on here. I could go with B, and I'm just going to draw like a bullet. Y, and C. So when you think of points, just think of like your pencil tip. It makes a point when you just put like one pencil tip to the paper, it'll make a point. Alright, now we're classifying lines. You can see here that these lines are going through each other. They're intersecting. So I could say that this word applies, intersecting over here, to this figure. But more specifically, these lines are perpendicular because they form what's called a right angle, a 90-degree angle. And you can tell it's a 90-degree angle because of this box. So we would say line DG, and use the line symbol, is perpendicular, and the symbol for perpendicular is like a backwards T, to line HF. Okay, next one. These are parallel because they're always going to be the same distance apart and they're never going to touch each other. So I would say that ray ZC is parallel, and I just draw like two L's, kind of like the word parallel itself, to ray AB. Intersecting here. We know that these don't really intersect at a right angle, so they wouldn't be perpendicular, but they are crossing through each other. So I would say SQ, and I'm going to call it a line segment. And I'm just going to use the word intersects. We don't really have a symbol for intersects. So let's put the word, and then it's RT, line segment RT. Alright, last one down at the bottom here. We had intersecting just then, and these two are non-intersecting. So this would be line VS does not intersect ray EP. And you can tell because this is the endpoint on ray EP. So it's not going to go any further, and it's always going to go off in this direction. So it'll never actually touch. If the ray was pointing this way, though, if it was like this, you can bet that those would actually be intersecting, because eventually this ray would touch the line. But it's not. It's pointing the other way.